The competition between the United States and the Soviet Union sparked some of the greatest innovations and technological developments in history. So what exactly propelled these two world powers into space? Well, the race is considered to have begun in 1955. That year, both the United States and the Soviet Union made announcements, just a few days from each other, that they would launch an artificial satellite into Earth's orbit within 2 to 3 years. But in reality, it wasn't the satellites that had either side worried, but the ability to get them into space. At the time, the two countries were in the early stages of the Cold War and desperately developing long-range ballistic missiles. These are launched at a steep angle, exit the atmosphere, and then re-enter it to hit their target, worst-case scenario, equipped with a nuclear weapon. The ability to get a satellite into orbit also meant they could get a weapon into space. Originally, the Russians planned to use an enormous 1.5-ton satellite to dwarf anything the Americans could send up there. But when that proved to be unreliable, they instead settled on a tiny, roughly 2-foot wide polished metal sphere weighing just 185 pounds and containing little more than a radio transmitter. The satellite was named Sputnik, which translates to, well, seeker or fellow traveler. When Sputnik was launched on October 4th, 1957, it took America from being the undoubted world leader in innovation to being well behind and in danger of Russia's technological advantages. This was known as the Sputnik crisis and led to President Dwight D. Eisenhower placing considerably more military importance on winning the space race. That meant a much bigger budget for space research and development. When Russia achieved another first and put an actual human into orbit just 4 years later, the U.S. realized they were very far behind. By this time, John F. Kennedy was president and had just been majorly embarrassed by the failed Bay of Pigs invasion. In 1962, the president announced that they would beat Russia to the moon within a decade in what was called the "We Choose to Go to the Moon" speech. Although Kennedy was assassinated a year after the speech, the U.S. launched Apollo 11 just several years later in 1969. After 3 days of spaceflight, on July 20th, astronauts Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin became the first human beings to step foot on another celestial body. It was a huge deal, and the Soviet Union never managed to catch up to the feat before their collapse in 1991. But in the time since the moon landing, the space race has slowly shifted from being an all-out competition to a global cooperation. Today, the International Space Station program is the result of a collaboration between 15 countries, with the US and Russia at the forefront. But we wonder, how far could we have gotten if it wasn't a race to begin with? When it comes to the space race, most people think of the Apollo program and how they landed people on the moon. But before Apollo was Gemini, and without it, Apollo would never have gotten off the ground. Check out why Gemini revolutionized human spaceflight in this new D-News Plus series.
Gemini was the program that really taught NASA how to live and work and fly in space. Without Gemini, we wouldn't have figured out all of the things we needed to get Apollo to the moon.
Thanks for watching Seeker Daily. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to see new videos every day.